Well, hello, everyone. We are back with another episode of Inside LSU Baseball. I'm your host, Jason Armstrong, and today we have a special episode. We have our first guest, Mr. Joe Doyle. Joe, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm honored to be guest number one on the Inside LSU Baseball podcast. Jason, you and I have chatted for a while, so excited to talk a little Tigers, man. Let's do it.
That's right. I appreciate it, man. And Joe is a senior analyst with Future Star Series, really good website when it comes to all things, the draft and wondering where guys are going and maybe the skill sets that they have. Joe is just really, really good at looking at the data and being able to kind of project where certain players are going to go. He's also the founder of the Overslot podcast, which is a really good podcast. You can access it on Patreon, right, Joe?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Really good stuff if you're into the draft, and just a really good follow in general for college baseball. And the reason I wanted him on today is because, listen, LSU, they dogpiled. All right, they had the parade. They did the celebration at Alex Box with thousands and thousands of people. And for some, baseball season might be over. They might be ready to talk about Garrett Nussmeier and what's LSU football going to do. But Joe, you and I know that it's not near over, and there is this time of year has such a huge impact on next year's team. And right now we got just a couple more days, but LSU got a late start, so you're in the heart of the transfer portal. You've got players reporting to summer ball to really improve their skills for next year. And then you've got the draft, July 12th, I think it is, July 13th. So less than 2 weeks away. And there's nobody better to talk, the draft and this incoming LSU freshman class than with you. So that's what I wanted to have you on today. And look, let's just get right into it. So in 2024, I feel like that draft went about as good as it could go for LSU. Now, of course, you missed out on Connor Griffin and Cam Caminetti and Boston Bateman. But if you look in Cale Fountain, but if you look how that draft went, you got a lot of the guys that you were really hoping to get. I mean, now, I look now at this year's draft, and one of the luxuries of being LSU and playing in the SEC is that you get great players, but you also have to worry about those players getting to school. And Joe, as I look at this class, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit concerned. You just put out your top 600 board, which is incredible. Got a drop down with at least a paragraph on all 600 players. And there are, I think I said 15 of LSU's incoming freshmen have made your top 16, which is just wild. So I'm sure you're anticipating another good haul for Jay Johnson.
I mean, you have to. Not all these guys are going to go pro. Yeah, looking back on that 2024 drafts, I mean, anytime you can walk away with any draft, landing like 3 or 4 guys that were going to be top 3 rounders. You get Schmidt, you get Curiel, you get Aaron Biddy. I mean, they pulled in a haul, man. Like that's in the transfer portal era, landing 3 high profile freshmen like that is just a cherry on top of what you're already going to be able to do in the portal. So yeah, man, that was a big year. This is definitely a little bit more of a sketchy year for LSU. They've got a lot more players, in my opinion, they have a lot more players in the meat of this draft. One thing about that 24 class was there was a lot of hidden gem types that weren't necessarily draft prospects off the rip. And then they had some, top heaviness there. This year, they have so many players that fit into that top 140, 150 that you kind of have to question, like, how many of these guys are they going to end up with? Like, I mean, I could see 10 of these guys going pro. So
Yeah.
it is a different year. But if I've learned anything about Jay Johnson and that LSU staff, it's they're doing their heavy lifting, trying to get as many of these talents to campus as they can.
Yeah. And you're right, man. It's a great class. And look, I kind of see three buckets. You've got your guy, you got your Blake Mitchells, your Connor Griffin. There's not a very good chance that they're going to be wearing purple and gold. Okay. Then you've got those guys that you're going to sweat out. And then you've got those guys that make draft boards and, have been on the scene, but they're most likely, you feel pretty good about them getting to campus. Let's start with a couple of guys that you have ranked, really high. And when you look across the industry, teams seem to like these guys. All right. So let's start with the number 45 prospect in your top 600, who is listed as a catcher, but I think you said you see him maybe going to outfield more, and that's Jaden Fowski from Illinois. Tell me about Jaden Fowski, and if that's somebody that we should just not have a lot of confidence of getting to school, and if not, why?
Yeah, I mean, I would put the chances of him ending up in Baton Rouge at about 10% at this chance. I mean, at this point, it sounds to me like Fowski is pretty much a lock to go inside of the top 60-ish picks, and at that point, he's going to sign. It's just too much money for someone to walk away from. The reason to be excited about Fowski if he does end up on campus is this was one of the most underrated bats in high school baseball over the last handful of years. I'm not sure why he was such a late riser, but we're talking about a guy that at the most premium tournaments, at the most premium showcases, he ran a 354, 484, 562 slash. But if the baseball card isn't exciting enough because, it's high school baseball, the baseball card can sometimes mean nothing. It's a 16% chase rate and a 7% in zone whiff rate. I mean, the guy is just a complete hitter. And when you have those metrics and you combine it with the fact that he's 6'3" and 215 pounds and left-handed and can run and will play up the middle of the field, there's just so many reasons to buy the Jaden Fowski profile that I think scouts and analysts and front office executives finally came to the realization in like March or April, like, hey, this guy isn't a tweener profile. He's actually one of the best hitters in the class.
Yeah. So, and he won't be the only guy we mentioned that we might not see on campus, but we're going to talk about him anyway. The next guy, who's actually, if you look at like the high school rankings, he is the highest rated high school player in this class. I don't think we'll have to spend much time talking about the possibility of him getting to campus, and that is 6'5", 225-pound third baseman Quinton Young.
Yeah, Delman Young's nephew. This is another one that's like 10% chance. Like he's the opposite of Fowski, where it's like the tools are so outrageous. The polish isn't what it is with Fowski, but Quinton Young, the scout, scouts tell you, they say when guys struggle, they have to go out the next summer and leave no shadow of a doubt that they've made adjustments. Well, he hit 15 home runs in like 34 games in Southern California, which is something. The level of competition isn't nothing down there. So I mean, it's 70 grade raw power. It's the chance to hit 40 homers at the next level if it all clicks. It's a chance to play third base plus arm strength. And from everything that I've heard, he wants to be a professional. He wants to go pro. So because of that, outside of a surprise on draft night where teams just run out of money and he's kind of the last one left without a date at the prom, I don't think there's much chance that he's going to end up in the purple and gold.
What about the next guy I want to talk to you about? You've got him listed at number 66, and I really like this guy. And he's playing on maybe the greatest high school team I've ever seen before, just looking at their prospects. He's listed as a shortstop, but he's actually playing third base right now because there's another guy playing shortstop who's probably going to be a top 10 pick, and that is Brady Eel from Corona High School. I just realized, I'm looking at this list, Jay Johnson's recruited a lot of California guys, man.
He did well. In SoCal. Yeah. Listen, LSU spends a lot of time in the summer recruiting Southern California. The whole staff is there at area code games. The whole staff is traveling, meeting with families all throughout July, August, September. So they're doing some heavy lifting here down the stretch. In terms of Ebel, this is the comp that I want to throw to LSU fans listening. I think there's a decent chance Ebel ends up on campus. I don't think it's a lock, but I think the chances would be like maybe 40% that he ends up on campus. I have heard that he wants to sign, which is always a pretty big deterrent. You know, if a guy wants to go pro, usually teams are going to find the money to do it. My comp for him is Jacob Berry. And like, I
Wow.
understand that in the professional game, that's not the sexiest profile right now. I mean, he hasn't transitioned to pro ball very well, but there's not like a standout banner tool here. He's a really good hitter. He's got some power. He's got the 6'4" frame. He can move a little bit. I think he's a third baseman long term. But that's what Jacob Berry was, right? I mean, he just did everything pretty well. And as the sum of his parts at LSU, he just peppered the box in right field for his entire career. So if Brady Eel makes it on campus, he could hit in the middle of the lineup pretty quickly. I do believe that. I think chances are better than not that he ends up going pro, but this is the first guy on the list, Jason, where I'm like, there's a shot. There's a
Good.
shot that this guy ends up a Tiger.
Good to hear it. Let's try to keep that going right here. But I got to be honest, it seems like, and I'm no expert, but that this guy has been moving in, I guess if you want him to get to LSU, the wrong direction. This is your 67th prospect, Briggs McKenzie, left-handed pitcher from North Carolina.
Yeah, Briggs isn't a pitching prospect that is for everyone. It's an unorthodox delivery. He's a really good mover, a really smooth mover. He's got size. He throws a ton of strikes. I mean, just pounds the zone. But there are teams that absolutely love Briggs McKenzie. Like, listen, at the end of the day, like, it's a ton of strikes. It's low 90s right now. So it's not like the, blow hitters up, sexiest profile right this second. But I think there are some teams in this draft that absolutely love Briggs McKenzie. I would put him in the same vein as Brady Eel. I think more likely than not, Briggs McKenzie is a pro. But the allure, the pull of LSU, and even the idea of a little bit of NIL money going to Briggs McKenzie could sway him to go to school. So, last year there was rumors that William Schmidt had no interest in going pro. There's rumors about other people this year. I haven't heard those rumors with Briggs McKenzie, but this is the type of level, this is the part of the draft where you start saying, oh, wow, Briggs McKenzie pulled himself out of the draft. Interesting. He's going to be really good for LSU.
Now, between Ebel and McKenzie, are either of these guys, I know age a lot of times makes a difference, whether they're draft eligible in 2 years after their sophomore year. Have any of these guys that we just talked about, Ebel or McKenzie, fit into that bucket?
So I know Ebel is very, very young.
Young, right?
He's very, very young. So he would not be draft eligible until 2028. Briggs McKenzie,
Gotcha.
I'm looking up his birthday right now. He would also be 2028. So you would get 3 years of both of these players if they were to get to campus.
Okay. All right. Next guy's an outfielder, Dean Moss, California. Got him as your number 86 prospect. Tell me a little bit about Dean Moss.
Does everything well. I mean, he really doesn't have a weakness. And this is probably where, and there's going to be guys that I flip this on its head, but this is probably the first guy on the list that I truly do think there is a 50-50 coin toss flip. I think Dean Moss is going to he's going to end up on campus. I think he's going to go to school. I don't know that for sure. I mean, I haven't heard in one way or the other, but my gut tells me he's going to end up in school. It's an established hit tool. It's not as good as Derek Curiel, but it's a very, very good hit tool. It's average power, average runner, average defender, average throwing arm. And those 5 tools at LSU, it turns you into a really, really, really good player who plays right off the rip. So Dean Moss, the first guy on this list that I would say at least a coin flip.
At this stage, though, is he comparable to Derek Curiel last year going into the draft? I know he throws right-handed, so it's a little different profile. But are they similar?
I don't think so. The guy that I would compare him to, and this is going to be a little bit of a throwback, is Daniel Cabrera. If you remember Daniel Cabrera, I'm sure you do. Everybody does. I mean, Cabrera was just a really solid, very good player when he was with LSU. Nothing terribly sexy on the scouting report, but just did everything very, very well. That's kind of the player that I see when I look at Dean Moss.
Gotcha. And by the way, I like it when you tell me you think they're going to get there, because last year, if you go back and check the record, man, you were pretty spot on. When nobody thought William Schmidt had a chance to get to campus, you had William Schmidt getting to campus. I think you had both Aaron Beatty and Curiel getting to campus. You had Jared Jones going back. So your track record's pretty good on this, man. Now, and let me tell you how crazy this is. So as talented as those three guys are, William Schmidt, Aaron Beatty, and Curiel, this is what scares me about this draft, because you had Schmidt rated as your number 29 prospect last year, okay? Curiel was 119 and Aaron Beatty was 129. We're just now getting out of the 130s, out of the top 100 with Dean Moss. So this next guy, we're breaking the 100 barrier. So that's what, there's so many good guys in this class. So next guy is Landon Hodge. This is a guy who's a catcher, second baseman, another California guy. Tell me a little bit about Landon Hodge.
Yeah, I've seen Landon Hodge quite a bit over the last calendar year, and he's really, really come on. He got more physical this spring. The power ticked up. The hit tool has always been there. It's another guy that you're like, I think he's going to catch, but I'm not really sure. He played some second base. He played some outfield over the course of his high school career. The arm strength really stands out. He has the athleticism to play behind the plate, but like, again, it's another one of those guys, 6'2", 6'3". You just never really know. So I would say the chances of Landon Hodge, the reason that I think there's a decent chance that Landon Hodge makes it to campus is high school catchers just generally don't get drafted. Like you saw, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this guy, but you saw Omar Cerna pulled his name out of the draft. It's just not a demographic that scouts and front offices like to draft, because at the end of the day, I mean, here's an example. Let's go back to that 2021 draft. Harry Ford was committed to play at Georgia Tech. We're 4 years removed from that draft, and he still hasn't debuted. And that was the number 10 pick in the draft. Blake Mitchell, still at high A. He was the number 6-7 pick in 2023. Not even a double A yet. So front offices don't like to wait for high school catchers to develop. That being said, if a scout or a front office or an analyst has been in and they see this guy and they say, let's just put him at second base right away, play him a little bit at first base right away. The kid is going to hit. He's going to hit. He's going to hit. He could get drafted. But I would put him in the same vein as Dean Moss. I put it as a 50-50. I would say more likely than not he ends up on campus just because he is considered a catcher.
Gotcha. Nice. All right. Miguel Sim. This guy is 6'2", 220. He just pitched today in the MLB Draft series, man. He was out there throwing 100 miles an hour, right-hander from New York. You've got him as and this surprised me because I've seen him up in the top 30s, 50s. So you've got him as the number 132nd prospect. Tell me about what do you like about Miguel Sim? And I would look at this guy and say, man, this guy is like got to be a first rounder, right? What about him gives scouts or people in front offices a little pause?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing with me in my evaluation process is that I generally knock relievers a little bit. I've got Miguel Sim, I think it's Sime, it could be Sim, as a reliever. I think the fastball command isn't where it needs to be a starting pitcher. I think there's a little bit of effort in the delivery that's going to lead to him being a reliever. He's not a terrific extender down the mound, which is usually a sign of a starting pitcher prospect. But the chances of Miguel Sim or Miguel Sim going pro, I think are better than Dean Moss, are better than Landon Hodge. At the end of the day, like teams will pay 6 foot. What is he? 6'5". I mean, 6'2", 230. Yeah, so he's built like a buffalo.
He looks bigger than that, actually. Yeah,
he's a big kid. Yeah, so teams just pay arms. Teams pay high school arms that throw really hard. I think someone's going to pay this kid. I would put the odds of him. I don't want to do odds for everybody, but
Yeah.
we're still early enough now to where I would say I think the odds of him getting to LSU are like 25%. Someone's going to pay him.
Yeah. Now, and we mentioned it because we're now at the spot. He already came out and said that he's going to go to LSU. So Omar Cerna, this is a big kid. He's a catcher. I don't know if that's where he sticks, but what do you like about Omar Cerna? Is this a guy that can go compete for time next year?
Yes. Yes. So I probably watched 6 games of Cade Arambidi, and I probably watched 5 games of Omar Cerna, like in person. Omar Cerna is ahead of where Arambidi was defensively at this same stage. Arambidi has a better arm, not by a lot. I mean, Cerna's got a pretty good hose on him, but he can frame, he can block. He's a little bit more mobile behind the plate. He's a better receiver of the baseball. So, we didn't get to see a ton of Cade Arambidi this season. We'll have to see what he looks like in the fall, what he looks like leading up to opening day in 2026 to see if the catching chops have really improved. If they haven't, Arambidi goes in the direction of a Jared Jones in his LSU, of an Ethan Fry in his LSU career, and maybe Omar Cerna as the starting catcher. But it's crazy. You don't see high schoolers hit a whole lot of home runs. I watched Omar Cerna hit 2 home runs. I watched Cade Arambidi hit 2 home runs. Both of them have a ton of juice. Both of them have a ton of arm strength. I just think unless Arambidi has taken a huge step forward in the receiving, blocking, framing department, Cerna's he's gonna make it a competition.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in a veteran catcher, maybe somebody else there. At LSU, I don't know Eddie Yaman, what how viable of an option he is, but they're young there, and look, Aaron Beatty did get a lot better as the season went on. I think, and you really nailed this because in last year at this time, one of the things you pointed out about him was his blocking, and that is what LSU fans were just like, man, the guy. I don't know that we can catch this guy. Towards the beginning of the season, just so many balls getting past him, but he did seem to get a lot better. And I'll tell you what, it would encourage me. I looked at Ryder Helfrich's freshman year. His numbers look very similar to Cade Arambidi. I'm not saying they're the same player, but you're talking about a guy, Ryder Helfrich, hit in the 190s, few home runs, and just made a tremendous jump this year. Be awesome if we could see something like that out of Arambidi.
And I think you will, for what it's worth. He's a hard worker. He's a good kid. I do think he's going to take the next step. And he's a good athlete, man. Like you can train good athletes.
Yeah. I really like this next guy, man. He looks like a player. He's probably not as sexy of a name as the rest of the guys we've mentioned, but William Patrick from Louisiana, you've got him as your number 150 prospect on your board. Tell me a little bit about William Patrick.
I mean, William Patrick he is on the short list of the best athletic testers in this class. He is a freak. He's a force plate guy. He's a 30-yard dash guy. He lit up the MLB Draft Combine. And another guy last summer, 302, 492, 465. There's some swing and miss in his game, both inside and outside of the zone, and he'll strike out a little bit. But William Patrick is if you ever wanted to trust Jay Johnson, Coach Jordan, those guys with a ball of clay, this is it. This is the guy that doesn't necessarily show up as a true freshman, light the world on fire. Then he comes back in 2027, 15 pounds stronger, twitchier, taking better reads in the outfield, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, William Patrick got 40 plate appearances last year. Now he's hitting in the 2 spot. What the heck happened? So I expect William Patrick to get to school. It wouldn't shock me if an analyst, decides to really juice him up the board. The other thing about William Patrick that I think is important here is he's a Louisiana kid.
Yes.
Right? I'm sure, I don't know William Patrick well personally. I'm sure he's a Tigers fan. I bet he bleeds it, right? Mm-hmm. So with that pull, I think he probably wants to go to school. It's the exact same thing with William Schmidt. You want to play for the hometown Tigers.
Yeah, you sure do. I really like this next guy. He doesn't weigh as much as Grant Taylor, but when I
Mm.
look at this guy, um, I think you pronounce it Marcos. Is it Paz?
Pause.
Paz?
Yeah. Pause.
From actually I skipped the guy, but we'll talk about Paz. Right-handed pitcher from Texas, 6'2", 220. And correct me if I'm wrong, this is a guy that from just my research would have been pushing like Seth Hernandez as one of the top right-handers in the class if he did not have Tommy John. And so because of that, he didn't pitch this year. Maybe folks aren't as high on him, but talk to me about this big right-hander.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. He tore his UCL last spring in 2024, and when it happened, he was on the short list of the top right-handed high school pitcher in the class. And Cameron Appenzeller and Cruz Schoolcraft didn't really explode until a little bit after that. So, yeah, I mean, it was Sime, it was Paz, it was Seth, and yeah, he blew out. Now he is throwing right now. He was at the
Mm-hmm.
combine. I think he touched 95 at the combine, but you can tell his mechanics are still coming back, still kind of getting his twitch and his athleticism back. So because he hasn't been able to show a fully back Marcos Paz, he has thrown for scouts in the Northeast too. But because he's not fully back and because he's committed to LSU and because of his decorated history and his pedigree, I expect him to go to LSU and try and recapture that first round love. If he does go pro, I would be surprised if someone offered him, more than seven figures, more than $1 million, considering his stuff isn't all the way back yet. You're kind of dreaming on what it could be.
Yeah, he's a good-looking kid, man. The guy I skipped, you have him up at 212, and this guy's kind of in your neck of the woods from Oregon, River Hamilton, 6'3", right-handed pitcher. He's rated extremely high by like the high school.
Yeah.
Tell me about River Hamilton.
I mean, River Hamilton, another one, second or third round coming out of August or September of 2024, and just was dinged up all spring. Couldn't get on the mound, couldn't showcase his stuff, and that's going to end up being a big plus for LSU. They're going to get a guy that I think they had very little chance of actually landing
Hmm.
at this time last year. Up to 95, 5 or 6 pitches. The guy that I continue to compare him to is Luke Weaver with the Yankees. Fastball, slider, cutter, splitter, tons of strikes, athletic delivery, starter profile. It remains to be seen the extent of how dinged up he is. We'll have to wait and see what fall ball looks like for him in Baton Rouge if he gets there. But again, like we talk about Sime or Sime, we talk about River Hamilton, we talk about Marcos Paz. All of these guys are potential top 100 prospects had things gone a little bit differently for them, whether it be through durability or, what have you. So I'm a huge River Hamilton fan, and I think he could be a starter for LSU in 2026. Maybe it be on Tuesdays if he's healthy.
Yeah. And, LSU's done a really good job, Nate Yeski, with these freshman arms. I mean, you know, I know William Schmidt, didn't have probably the type of year. I think there's a lot of really high expectations on him to come in and be in the rotation. And that's a really big jump. It was interesting because I think if he would have just thrown the breaking ball he threw at Catholic High, he would have got a lot of SEC hitters out, but he couldn't throw it for a strike or wouldn't break. It was really interesting to see how much he struggled kind of with that main pitch that he threw so well in high school. But the freshman, the Case and Evans, which that's another one that you called. You saw him not as a shortstop, as a pitcher, just phenomenal. And the one that I think that has so much potential next year that doesn't get a lot of talk is Maverick Rizzi. I mean,
Yeah.
this guy's a monster. And so my point is that Cooper Williams, you've got these young arms that got some good experience this year. You throw a couple of these freshmen that get through this draft, and LSU's going to have some good arms for a couple years to come.
And none of this takes into account the transfer portal. Jay Johnson and LSU are going to land at least 2 arms in the portal that can be leveraged, whether
Yeah.
it be in multiple inning roles, those meat inning roles, whether it be on Sunday to try and, piggyback. The other guy that we haven't talked about, and I don't know if we're going to talk about this, and I do think it's more unlikely than not, but Chase Shores could return to school. Like,
You joking?
no, I mean, like
Really?
at the end of the day, like, hey, they haven't stretched him out. They haven't pitched him in a rotation role. He hasn't shown a big enough sample to convince scouts and front offices that he is a for sure starter at the next level. Mind you, I would put it at like 20%. Like, I think the odds of him actually being a Tiger next year are like 20%. But if his agency, if his representation is going to him and Jay Johnson is coming to him and they're saying, hey, listen, Chase, we will promise you the Saturday role next year. You will be the Saturday starter. You have our word. We don't have enough arms coming back. You're going to be the guy, right? And Chase thinks, man, if I go back to school, rein it in a little bit better, throw more strikes, get more quality out of the slider, develop that changeup that I hardly threw this year because I didn't need to. And he thinks he can be a top 20 pick. I don't think Chase Shores is going in the top 50 picks this year. So if he's not going in the top 50 and he thinks he can be a top 20 pick and he can double his money by returning to Baton Rouge, it's just something to consider. I still think the odds are lower than not, but it's not a zero odd.
Because he's a sophomore, right? He redshirted last year. Is that? Oh my goodness gracious! See, I don't think most. I mean, I talk about this every day. I didn't even consider Chase Shores. I mean, good.
It's not
night.
likely.
Did you?
Like, look,
Right, but
he's 6'8", it's 240,
yeah.
it's 101 miles an hour, it's a durable frame, it's an 88 mile an hour slider. Like, chances are someone gives that kid $1.5 million. But I really do think if he truly believes and his representation believes, let's go back to LSU, turn ourselves into a legitimate first round pick, lock in $3.5 million next year. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that he goes pro.
Awesome. Well, that's something to dream on, Joe. That's for sure. We'll actually touch on the LSU guys. Let me. I don't think the next group of guys, I'm going to mention them all at once, are big time draft. But I would just, if any of them stand out to you, Mason Brawn, guy from Indiana, first baseman, outfielder. Jack Ruckard, the shortstop from Louisiana. Ethan, is it Klaus from Nevada? He's another infielder. And then Ricken, I think it is, a right-handed pitcher from California. Anything about those guys stand out to you?
I mean, Ricken has had a little bit of a late surge here. He kind of had an up and down spring, but kind of showed well toward the end. I think that Mason Braun, he got invited to the combine, so there obviously had to have been enough love there that he's considered by scouts to be a potential pro prospect. At the end of the day, with Mason Braun, the issue is it's like left field or it's first base. It's only 6 feet tall. It's solid average raw power. The hit tool is pretty good, but the undersized high school first base left field prospect is generally not something that people pay a ton of money for. Right. I think he might just go to school, but yeah, man. I would say Ricken, just if there's a team that falls in love with him and he wants to take, $800,000 in the 4th round or whatever. He's a California kid. He's not a Southeast boy, like through and through. I think there's a chance that he goes pro, but yeah, man, this is a group of players that I think will probably end up on campus, but time will tell.
Yeah. So transitioning into a couple of the guys on this LSU team, and I don't think there's a lot of them that have a big decision to make, but there are a couple. So I wanted to get your thoughts on, and I think the main one is going to be Ethan Fry. Ethan Fry, this is his first year. It's really odd because if you look at his production, it's almost like identical to Jake Brown's, except a little bit more power. But I think it was exactly the same amount of plate appearances, very similar, average, everything. But you would almost think like Ethan Fry was in the lineup every day, but he wasn't. So this was really his breakout year. It was his junior year, has not played a position yet. So talk to me. I know this is his year with the most leverage, but talk to me about Ethan Fry and just kind of your thoughts.
I mean, if you watched what Jared Jones did in 2024, returning to school, I had Jared Jones in the 5th or 6th round. He returns to school, probably a 4th or a 5th rounder, improved on some things this year, also became a folk hero in Baton Rouge for return to school. That's worth something. That's worth something. He put his name higher up the record books and things like that. So I think you're looking at a spitting image with Ethan Fry. Like, it's the exact same thing. You get another year with him. You say, Ethan, you are going to be our starting first baseman next year. Point blank, period. You're going to play 55 games. You're going to be hitting number 3, hitting number 4 in this lineup. We're really counting on you. I just think it's hard for a guy like Fry, who, like you mentioned, he hasn't played a position. He is positionless, and you just don't see DHs get paid in the draft. And because of that, I think Ethan Fry is going to have the option between accepting $350K, $400K to go pro, or returning to LSU, probably getting a sweet little penny in NIL, and getting to play every single day as the starting first baseman. And look, the numbers, the metrics, the raw power point to a pretty special player. I mean, he hits the ball really hard. He hits the ball often. I think if he returns to school, Ethan Fry has a chance to vault himself up into that 3rd, 4th, or 5th round if he plays first base. It's just tough to pay a DH, man.
Yeah. I think the big difference is Jones was a sophomore last year, where Fry is a junior this year. So,
right.
But I completely agree with what you're saying. And he's really the big one. He's the one that if he comes back, this lineup's already going to be very good, but I think that really changes things. Couple of arms that I think potentially, I'll get your thoughts on it. Talk to me about Jaden Newton.
Yeah, I think Jaden Newton's a tough one. He was kind of miscast into, I don't know if miscast is even the word. He just couldn't lock down a specific role. I mean, I thought Jaden Newton had a chance to be a starter for LSU in 2025, and he just kind of granularly got relegated into different spots, and he was in the 7th inning, and then when Shores locked up the back of the game, he was in the 6th inning and 5th and 6th innings here and there. But like, it's tough for me with New. On one end, it's 6'4", it's 230 pounds, it's 99 miles an hour, it's an extremely heavy bowling ball fastball, and he's got a decent breaking ball that's come around. But on the other end, it's like, does this kid have a chance to come back and start? Like, if Jay Johnson's telling Jaden Newton, hey man, you're the Sunday guy. You're going to be the Sunday guy next year. We trust you. We're going to give you the ball. We've developed you for a year. Yeski protects you, man. You're going to be in a spot to succeed. I think it's hard for him not to come back to school. So it's another one of those guys with big arm talent that I think fits anywhere between rounds 6, 8, and 9. But ultimately, if I was Jaden Newton, I thought I had even a chance to start. I'd return to school.
And he's a sophomore, by the way. He's a redshirt sophomore.
Yes.
So, last guy, man, I like this guy so much, man. And I don't know how, what his draft status is, but this is a guy that we watch. And if he could throw the ball anywhere near the strike zone, we clapped.
I know exactly.
And then something happened to him.
Yeah.
Something happened, Joe. He started throwing like first pitch sliders that would drop off the table. And we were looking at like, what is going on? Who is this? He was downright nasty by the end of the year. He just pitched today in the MLB Draft Series, pitched a scoreless inning, and that is Jacob Meyers. Is Jacob Meyers a guy that would make any sense for him to come back, or is this a guy throwing 100? He's a junior, and he needs to probably go.
This is the most difficult evaluation for me, perhaps in the draft. He pitched 17 times this year. He logged just 15 innings. There was a lot of no outs recorded, 1 out recorded. Like, there was a lot of games where you're like, what the, like, how does a guy pitch 15 innings, give up 4 hits, walk 20 hitters, and have an ERA under 5? Like, it is the most perplexing profile. The fastball is special when it is in the zone. The slider can be special, and maybe they lean on it and they say, hey, you're going to pitch in the 7th or the 8th inning for a team going forward. My gut says that he goes pro, and the reason I say that is, like you said, he's on the older side of 21. He's probably not going to have an opportunity to start in 2026 just because of his command woes, and it's mostly 2 pitches. I think an analyst in a big league organization is going to see the fastball shapes and value and see the effectiveness of the slider and just say, let's give this kid $300,000 in the 8th round. We're going to fix him. And he's going to become something. I don't know what he's going to be, but he's going to become something. My gut tells me he's going to go pro, and it's primarily because I don't think he can change his role in Baton Rouge in 2026. So we'll see what happens, but that would be my hunch. 4 hits. 4 hits in 15 innings.
Nuts.
It's nuts.
It's nuts.
26 strikeouts. I mean, the weirdest pitcher in the country, I think.
Yeah, and he just improved so much. Last one, LSU's brought in 4 transfer portal guys. Braden Simpson, I know you like him a lot from High Point. Yeah. Is it Seth or Chase? I knew him from high school. It's one of the Seth Dardar, I think is his name. And then they brought in 2 pitchers. They brought in Ryler Smart from Tennessee, who had injury, and then Danny Lockenmeyer, who was supposedly being recruited by everybody from North Dakota State. Should we be excited about any of those 4 guys?
So Lockenmeyer and Dardar are good players, and they're going to serve a really good purpose. I don't think they're going to be like the most electric shutdown types. They're going to be very, very valuable. Don't get me wrong. Like Anthony Ianson, I thought was going to be a 3rd or a 4th round pick coming into the year because of his fastball value. And then his breaking ball, both of his breaking balls just took a huge jump. I think that could be what happens here. You could be talking about a 4th or a 5th rounder with both of those guys. The guy that I think could be just so fun to watch is Braden Simpson. I mean, this kid is a kerosene bottle. I mean, it is like softball home run derby. Every time you watch him, he can run, he can throw. He's got a great first step. The thing with Simpson that I think is going to be tricky, but we'll see. Like I have him as an 11th or a 12th rounder right now. Can he hit? Can he hit in the SEC? Can he hit enough to where the raw power will play, to where he can stretch his legs a little bit? Is he good enough at third base to handle a full-time role at third base, or are they going to have to move him around a little bit? Because obviously he's not going to play shortstop. He's not going to play second base. This is going to be your third baseman if he's anything. So the other guys are very talented, very good role players. Braden Simpson has a chance to bat 3rd in this lineup if he assimilates to the SEC quality of play quickly. He was good in the short samples that he had against, quality opponents in 2025, but we'll see. You never know.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like, it's going to be another year for LSU fans to be excited about the offseason. Hopefully we still got some surprises coming in the portal, just a couple more days left. So maybe we see some things kind of go LSU's ways over the next 2 days. But listen, we got into a lot. I think this was awesome. I think the listeners are going to really appreciate this, Joe. And just really appreciate you. Thanks for coming on, man. And I think you killed it.
Love it, Jason. Anytime, man.
All right. Talk to you later. Thanks, man.